just to double back quickly on my point about the sort of anticipation in this city, though. Like, I kind of feel like Canuck fans, at least the ones that I'm in contact with online and social and stuff, burn twice. I just think people have accepted that they're not going to win. So I'm not talking.
I'm hearing that people legitimately think they're going to win.
They're going to cash a 7.5% chance and win this thing. Like, look, I hope they do too. Because do they need Rasmus Dahlin? Of course they do.
That's interesting. So you think that people have kind of just said,
yeah, screw it. Like, we're not going to win this thing. Yeah. We never win this thing.
All right.
And I do think that's part of why Trevor Linden opted to send Jimbo, and Trevor he'd had enough of that shot that's become famous of Trevor Linden face. Like, he just didn't want to go down that road again.
People are saying it's superstition. I just think that it's a shitty spot, like, to defend him. Like, it's a shitty spot to be in, to be standing look what
cameras is trained on your face.
It's ridiculous. They match up all these like big high paid executives to run this team, and they all look like douches, like just total tools sitting there waiting for the results to come in so the camera can pan on you. Like, who would want that?
I don't know. And we found out now that Sportsnet is stretching this thing out, and we made reference to it earlier. But like the actual,
so those guys gonna have to sit there for hours?
I guess so.
In that fucking
like. It's for the TV aspect of it, like there's so much more that they could do than have 15 executives in suits. Like, people were jokingly send Finn. Like, I would way rather see 15 mascots on stage than 15 guys.
I want to, you know what I want to see? Like, legit, I want to see 15 fans. I want to see pick a fan.
Perfect.
Have a contest, pick the right fucking fan, and have them out there. Let me see their real reaction. See the Canucks guy tearing out his hair, seeing the Flyer guys high-five, whatever it is. I want to see a group of fans, and then also give them some alcohol.
I'm with you.
But
that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, so Sportsnet, it's their product, and they're stretching this thing now and trying to build the drama and I guess build an audience for the Sharks and the Golden Knights. Like, if people not been watching the Golden Knights, would they not watch the Golden Knights?
I don't think so.
Apparently not. Anyway, so
because I would bet that if it were the Leafs, and it would have been if the Leafs had made it, if it were the Leafs playing Saturday, notice how all of this started coming out
after the Leafs got punted.
Yeah. I mean, if the Leafs were in it, no one would fucking worry about who's going to hang on to the second intermission. Like, you don't worry about ratings are bananas no matter what. So we wouldn't have heard any of this. But it's just humiliating for these executives. Like, put the fans there. Like, there's no reason.
I like that.
And and make it a party. Like, let them have some beers.
Turn it into a dance floor.
Yeah, for the 3 winners at the end, like dancing.
Draft lottery / dating game. Sort of get some singles in there and get them going, a little mingling.
And I got to get the Leaf because I'm not going to be able to concentrate if I don't get my fucking shit out about this Leaf series and what has gone on there, and this criticism that Austin Matthews took for not appearing after Game 4 to talk to the media. Like, I've said it before, but honestly, like, fuck the media sometimes. Like, fuck them, because Austin Matthews, even if he came out after that Game 4, he's not giving you – he doesn't want to talk to you. He's not – I don't want to talk to someone who doesn't want to talk to us. I would love to talk to someone who's like – even-tempered, and this is what made the Sedin so great. You could have a dialogue, we could analyze plays, we could talk about their play, and sometimes they would have their spin, and all the more power to them. But you could ask them any question, and they would do their best to give you an answer. That's what I want. If a guy is in, and these games are emotional, they're difficult, they're passionate. If a guy is worried about I don't think they hide. Generally, I think that what it is they're concerned if they come out, what they might say. They may say the wrong thing. They're too amped up. And if he's not comfortable in that situation, coming out and having a dialogue with the media, I don't want the short 3-word answers. Right. Like, just stay. Like, fuck, I'll talk to you another day. Don't worry about it. You got today off. You don't have to come out. And the media gets all worked up, like, oh, he didn't appear, like as though that this is some kind of weakness of his character. I don't see it that way. I think that they use these quotes and comments as a crutch. Work your way around it, talk your way around it, find other things to talk about, find other players to talk to. Don't worry about it, man. Like, don't fucking criticize players. Like, I this is my belief, that if you act like the Sedins and you come out there and you take all the bullets and you represent your team, you deserve all the praise in the world. And I can't give those guys enough praise for what they did in those situations. But in turn, if a player every once in a while isn't comfortable doing it, like let him be. Like he's 21, like, or whatever he is. They're in their 20s. They're not emotionally capable of dealing with these huge moments all of the time, and coming out and discussing in a very reasonable way where they don't throw anyone under the bus and they don't light the fire of something that's going to be talked about forever. Like I think Luongo is in that Boston series in 2011 is a good example, and he's talked about it a lot since, where the emotions got the best of him. He didn't know exactly what he was saying. He didn't word things the right way, and things blew up. They probably shouldn't have blown up, and they did, but they did.
Yep.
And his comments, that fucking tire pumping shit, was pointed to as a reason that they lost the series.
People still talk about it,
which is ridiculous, man. Which is totally ridiculous. So if you're going to learn anything from that, you're going to, as a player, if you look at history and say, okay, like, look what happened to Luongo, where the emotions got the best of him. He said things he didn't really want to word that way. I'm taking tonight off. I don't want to talk to the media. Fine. The media should be fucking fine with that. And instead of worrying about what fucking Austin Matthews is going to say after Game 4, start asking questions to Babcock, which they never do, about why he only played 17 and a half minutes a game for the series. He averaged 17:32. You know who averages 17 and a half minutes a game?
I do.
Who?
Brandon Sutter.
That would be my first question. Send me to Toronto. Dude, do you know that Brandon Sutter averages 17 and a half minutes, and you just played 7 games with one of the best players in the game averaging 17 and a half minutes? What do you got to say to that, Babs?
I want to see the lights dim and you come up with like a PowerPoint presentation. Babs, look at this over here. And you like the big pointer or digital, like the laser pointer.
So don't worry about Austin Matthews and what stupid cliches he's going to give you after the game. Focus, like try to, like sometimes like there are some people in the media here in Vancouver, like Fast Abner would do this. Like, let's get together and figure out what our strategies here are. What are the talking points we need to ask this coach in big moments, right?
Right.
I thought it was super weird at first when he did it. Like I thought, like we're gonna collectively get together and come up with a plan. Like this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But after a while, I learned to really like it. I honestly miss these huddles that he'd have now.
Bring back Abby.
Yeah, because sometimes you do need to bounce shit off other people. Well,
we found that on the road as the numbers thin out and there's only a couple of us. Like, there were a few nights along the way where you're just like, damn, I wish, we could call a timeout, have a little group huddle, and, come up with a line of questioning.
Right.
That's what we use the elevator rides for, essentially.
Yeah, so I ended up missing that. And I think that if Toronto media had the huddle, they could figure out things like, we got to ask Babs why Austin Matthews wasn't on this power play, or why didn't they use him after this TV timeout? And there were some weird decisions that went on during that series that I thought, like, this needs to be asked after the game. And of course, none of it is ever asked.
Yeah. But I think that whole lament about a guy didn't talk, it's from the same small group always. And 5 or 10 years from now, you won't hear that, because I do think, as you point out, the way post-game is handled, the way these games are covered, it is changing. It's evolving. There's no question it is. And so I just think I'm with you. Like, and you and I are on the front line. We're in there on a nightly basis, not in the Leafs room, but with the Canucks. Like, and we've joked about, like, you go a whole season without hearing from Louis Eriksson. Like, big deal, right? Like,
what's he going to give you?
Yeah. So, you write the occasional story. Maybe you'd get a chance to talk to him. Talk to the coach or the GM or whatever if you're writing your Eriksson story. But post-game, you're getting nothing. And so you move on to the next guy that's there. I mean, it is one of the reasons that Jacob Markstrom sort of became fascinating post-game. You just never, emotions did get
after losses.
Right, but emotions got the better of him, and you were never quite sure where it was going to go to the, where it reached its point, the high point in Carolina, where, he said what he said about guys maybe not being able to play in the NHL or play, I don't want to,
be careful.
I know, exactly. Can we wind that back? Guys that weren't playing good enough at that point to be playing in the National Hockey League. But it was a great quote, and it got a lot of play.
And he was great after losses, so he became a go-to guy after losses.
But the problem with goalies is and guys still ask him about the power play and like stuff that's going at the other end. Like,
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he's got a good vantage point. He's got one of the best seats in the house, but I never understand asking a team's goalie about his own team's power play. Like, he's got nothing to do. He can't add anything about the power play.
I have such a pet peeve about those Markstrom post-game after losses scrums, because there can be so much great stuff you can harvest from him. And notice that the best stuff happened when he was on the road, and there were very few of us asking him pointed questions about plays and what happened and all that. I don't like when we're at home and then all the cameras get around him, the TV guys get around him, and you're right, like Farhan and whoever are asking like these big picture, and it's not always Farhan, like guys in that scrum are asking these big overarching big picture questions, and I'm like, dudes, we only have about 5 fucking questions,
and you
before
can see
he's
him bubbling.
We got
like,
5.
Stoke that fire.
We got 5 before he checks out. Each one has to build, and that's again where if we would have the Ebner Fast Debbie huddle, we could say like, okay, you go down this. I'm gonna try to lay some bricks over here, and let's build this foundation and ask this guy some good questions that are gonna provide us with some really great answers. Because that's what you should be after. You should be after great answers, and there's no way Austin Matthews was going to give anyone any great answers after that Game 4. Didn't want any part of it, and that's fine. And there's lots of games where I look at, for instance, Bo Horvat. Not great after losses. I don't really want to talk to him after losses because he's not going to give me good answers. He's just not a guy that's wants to break down what went wrong here and why did you do that. He's just not into it. Yeah. I can go to Troy Stetcher, and he can tell me exactly where he should have been, what should have happened, where the puck should have gone, and he's great in those situations. So you got to know the personality of these guys, and if the Canucks ever make it to a playoff series, and if we're ever covering one, like fuck, like knock on wood, man, it's got to like I'm missing all of this excitement, right? Like I feel left out. Like I want to be a part of this. I want to be arguing with I'm with you, Ken Campbell about like criticizing Austin Matthews. I want to be out on Twitter just fucking hammering guys. All those battles that go on in the media. And of course, the whole there's some gravitas to the games you're covering and all these decisions and the coaches' moves and all that stuff. Like I'm filled with questions and I'm ready to go. Right? Like it's been 3 years.
Airlift botch in,
and I'm amped to get in there. So if we ever are covering a series again, I will know that there are games where there's no sense in going to Bo Horvat. He's not going to give me anything. Let him go. If he doesn't want to talk on a night, so fucking what? Right,
but I've seen now, like, there's people drawing this line from Austin Matthews didn't speak after Game 4 to he can never be the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs because he didn't answer questions.
Right.
Like, was he great in the series? No, but there are a number of reasons for that. Give the Bruins some credit. The matchups, he was in tough. He's seeing a lot of Bergeron. He's seeing Chara. This is a young guy. Like, he'll get back. I don't worry.
And injured too.
And look, I'm miles away from it. But I'm not worrying about Austin Matthews. He's on a path to greatness in the National Hockey League. These are all learning experiences for him. But it is funny that sometimes the focus that comes out of these series and the takeaways, and it's that forget the fact that he didn't produce, it's that he didn't speak after Game 4, and here we sit 7 years removed from the Canucks run in 2011, and what are the 3 greatest takeaways from that series against the Boston Bruins? The riot, Marchand punching Daniel Sedin, and Luongo's quotes. Like, seriously, in that order, like, people 7 years after the fact still talk about pumping the tires.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous.
No, you're right.